Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MetrObelisk Radio. Today we are taking a look at the second season of The Mandalorian. Now, I wanted to give this a week for everyone who wanted to watch this season without spoilers, a chance to watch it. And in my book, a week is more than enough time to accomplish that. And personally, you guys may have already read the title of this, but personally, I feel that this season really dropped the ball in comparison to the first season. The first season of this show was so tight and so focused. So what happened to this season? Was the storyline set up during season 1 not strong enough to carry an entire season? Or were there other things that the showrunners and executive wanted to set up with this season? Now, I'm going to change up my format a little bit for this season. Instead of doing a character analysis and a narrative analysis like I did for my season 1 review, I'm just going to do an episode analysis for season 2. And we're going to start off with chapter 9, and that was the Marshal. And I want to start off by saying this. This was a really good standalone episode. Mando gets information about a Mandalorian in a small town on the outskirts of Tatooine. Once he gets there, a sheriff who isn't a Mandalorian is wearing Boba Fett's armor. Now, for those who may not know, yes, Boba Fett did make it out of the Sarlacc pit alive, and that was even in the original expanded universe. So for those that are saying that Disney was pulling that out of their ass, no, that was, I think, in the Bounty Hunter Wars books. I could be wrong. I have not read those books in probably a good 10 years. I haven't read them since probably middle school. But getting back to the episode, the sheriff played by Timothy Oliphant. Of course, you have to get someone who is totally justified to play the role, huh? See what I did there? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyway, you know, the sheriff agrees to give Mando the armor back if Mando helps him get rid of a giant sandworm that destroys the town and kills a bunch of people in the process. And in this episode, they team up with the Sand People because the Sand People are dealing with the exact same problems. So, you know, I think it was Sun Tzu who said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And, you know, at the very end of this episode, we see an older Boba Fett carrying like a Sand People spear, just wandering the desert. So basically, a tease of what is to come later. And you know what? You go from a really good standalone episode to Chapter 10, The Passenger, which was total fucking dog shit. Basically, here's the episode in a nutshell. Mando has to take a lizard creature woman to another planet, but he can't go into hyperspace because, oh my god, you're going to destroy her eggs. And this is where the whole, like, you know, controversy of, you know, Baby Yoda eating the fucking frog eggs comes from. Honestly, the alien looked more like a lizard, looked nothing like a frog. And you could tell from the scales and how big the eyes were. Now, they get shot down on an ice planet. Yeah, Baby Yoda eats the lizard eggs, and also some space spider eggs. Space spiders chase them, and the New Republic saves them. Episode over. And honestly, guys, Chapter 10 was nothing but filler, and there's nothing more to it than just that. It was total crap, and I think fans of The Mandalorian would be happy to forget that Chapter 10 even existed. Then we get to Chapter 11, and that's the Heiress. Now, this episode's a little better, but following an episode that was complete dog shit, anything was going to be better than Chapter 10. And this is the first episode with Bo-Katan, and now she was first introduced in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and if I remember correctly, wasn't like the Duchess of Mandalore her sister? Because I remember she was with the Death Watch, and that much I do remember. But yeah, I think she was related to the Duchess of Mandalore because Obi-Wan was kind of falling for her in the in the Clone Wars. But anyway, they have to steal an Imperial ship, and honest to God, guys, I can't remember the reason for it. It honestly doesn't matter. Now, this was used to set up the Ahsoka episode. Basically, go to such and such planet and tell Ahsoka that Bo-Katan sent you. But obviously, we couldn't get to the Ahsoka episode right away. Instead, we get to Chapter 12, and that is the Siege. And honestly, guys, this was the first episode where I felt it was a genuine extension to Season 1. Now we're really seeing the story from Season 1 play out. And we see the return of Cara Dune, that was Gina Carano, and Grief Karga, which is Carl Weathers. And this would be the only episode to feature Grief Karga. Now Mando heads back to Navarro to help Cara Dune and Greef Karga take care of the Empire that is still on there. And it's in this episode we actually get a little more backstory to Baby Yoda. You know, we learned that the Empire wanted Baby Yoda specifically for cloning, and the doctor that Mando steals Baby Yoda from, I think in Chapter 3, is a cloning specialist. Now, why does the Empire want to clone Baby Yoda? Not even that's really explained. Other than what's his nuts, Moff Gideon explaining in the end that Baby Yoda is gonna bring balance back to the galaxy, or whatever it is. It's never expanded upon. It's never expanded upon beyond that. Then we finally get to the Ahsoka episode, and that is Chapter 13, The Jedi. Surprise, surprise with the title. This episode is the one with Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, and Baby Yoda actually finally got a name for this episode, and that was Grogu, Grogu. I don't really know about the name, but the name for Baby Yoda is rather inconsequential. Most people are going to continue to call him Baby Yoda. Hell, I'm going to continue to call him Baby Yoda throughout this, so just ignore the Grogu part. Ahsoka can't train him for unknown reasons, and honestly, guys, I just don't remember what those reasons were. Now, this episode in particular was a backdoor pilot for the Ahsoka series. In this episode, she takes on a magistrate that has basically gone insane with power. She wants to find Thrawn, which I'm assuming she wants to find him in order to find Ezra, since at the end of Rebels, we see Ezra and Thrawn go off together. So, this really didn't feel like an episode of The Mandalorian as a result, because like I said, this is what in television is called a backdoor pilot. Basically, for those that don't know what a backdoor pilot is, you take an already successful show and you want to do a spin-off series to it, but you don't want to do a standalone pilot because that's too much of a risk. So what you do is you do the episode in the already established show that will set up the spin-off series, and that is in effect called a backdoor pilot. Basically, the studio is paying for, basically whoever is producing this. So Disney paid for an episode of The Mandalorian, but also got a pilot for the Ahsoka series. Two birds with one stone. They don't have to pay for a pilot, and they get an episode for Mandalorian. It's a win-win situation. And next up, we get to Chapter 14, and this is called The Tragedy. And this is the first part in a trilogy of episodes. Boba Fett does come in as a main character at this point, along with Fennec Shand. And for those that don't remember, that was Ming-Na Wen's character in Chapter 5, the one that gets double-crossed when she tells the rookie bounty hunter that the bounty on Mando is much higher than she was, and he basically shoots her, leaves her in the desert. She basically is more droid from what it looks like. And honestly, this fixes a problem with the first season. And that was, I remember saying like Chapter 5 was just a completely throwaway episode, that it didn't really lead to anything. Chapters 5 and 6 could have been, cut out, and the season would not have suffered. So, giving credit where credit is due, at least the showrunners are retroactively fixing one of the issues with Season 1. Now, in this episode, Baby Yoda gets taken to an ancient Jedi temple and connects with the Force to call out to the other Jedi. That was what Ahsoka had told Mando in the prior episode, is take him here, let him reach out to the Force, he'll call out to other Jedi, and maybe they'll respond, maybe they won't. He gets captured. Surprise, surprise there, because he's always getting captured. And the Razor Crest finally gets blown up. Yay! Yeah, for those that don't know, I really am not a fan of the Razor Crest whatsoever. And I really didn't say this in my season 1 review, but I'll say it here. The Razor Crest to me looked like a knockoff of the Serenity from Firefly. The only difference was that the Razor Crest was just a lot fatter than the Serenity, and that really was it. And I could not put my finger on it when I was watching season 1, but as I was watching season 2 weekly, I finally was able to, come to the conclusion of why I didn't like the Razor Crest. Because something always struck me as kind of odd with the ship. And then finally I'm like, I've got it. It's totally the Serenity from Firefly. If the Serenity was pregnant, let's all be honest here. Then we get up to chapter 15, and that one is called The Believer. And this is a decent episode. And now this episode, like I said, how chapter 14 fixed chapter 5, chapter 15 actually fixes the problem with chapter 6 from season 1. Now chapter 6 is no longer filler because Bill Burr's character does come back. He comes back to help Mando get information on where Baby Yoda is being held, basically where Moff Gideon's ship is. And, this is the first time where we see Mando take off his helmet in front of a living creature. And we learned earlier in the season that he was raised by the religious zealots of the Mandalorian tradition. And this does make sense given on, how we saw Jango Fett's face in Attack of the Clones. We saw Sabine Wren's in Rebels. And we even saw Bo-Katan's in both Clone Wars and The Mandalorian. So the whole idea of the Mandalorians never taking their helmet off never really made any sense to me. And also, this was the only episode to not show Baby Yoda. So Baby Yoda is actually missing in this particular episode. And then finally we get to the season finale, and that was chapter 16, called The Rescue, and it also serves as the finale to the trilogy of chapters 14, 15, and obviously 16. Mando gets Bo-Katan and her crew to join Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, and Cara Dune to rescue Baby Yoda from Moff Gideon. And now during this, Mando actually wins the Darksaber from Moff Gideon, which earns him the right to take the throne on Mandalore. Now originally Bo-Katan wanted this back, but now has to fight Mando in order to receive it, if she still even wants it. I don't think that she should even get it, and Bo-Katan, quote-unquote, dies. And honestly, guys, I don't remember if she got back up after she got shot by Moff Gideon. So that's why I say, quote-unquote, dies, largely because I don't remember, and I could be wrong, but I did see her go down. Baby Yoda obviously gets saved. And who is the Jedi that responds, who rescues Baby Yoda? None other than Luke Skywalker. Now, I knew that it was Luke largely from two things, and it wasn't the X-Wing. It was the green lightsaber, and more specifically, it was the black glove that gave it away. So I don't know why they even hit his face. Well, I know why they hit his face is because they basically CGI'd the younger Mark Hamill onto a completely different actor, even though Mark Hamill got the credit for being in this episode when it was just his digital face. Basically, yeah, Luke Skywalker comes in, kills all the Dark Troopers that want to kill Mando and his crew. And like I said, it is a different actor playing Luke Skywalker over Mark Hamill. Now, this ends the mission that Mando received at the end of Season 1. Mando returned Baby Yoda to his kind, effectively ending the necessity for Baby Yoda to continue on in The Mandalorian, and I am glad, and I'm going to continue this train of thought in just a minute. Now, there's a couple of questions that I posed when I first started writing this right when Season 2 was airing, and those questions were, does it deliver on Season 1's promises? And does the ending of Season 2 have hope for the future? So let's go ahead and start with the does it deliver on Season 1's promises? And I would say yes to a degree. It expanded on Baby Yoda's character. He was taken and hidden during the Jedi Purge. That was, for those that don't know, that was Order 66 during Revenge of the Sith. Now, who took Baby Yoda out of the Jedi Temple and hid him? Really, who knows? Maybe the show will expand on that at some point. I think it sort of has to. It's too intriguing to not explore it. Or the answer will be in a different show altogether. But other than that, it's not all that important to The Mandalorian, since Baby Yoda's story arc ended with Luke coming in and taking him back to his Jedi Academy where he will be trained. Because basically raw talent means absolutely nothing if you don't have the skill to back it up. We also found out why the Empire wanted him, and I already went over this earlier, so I won't repeat myself here. We did finally get Mando to take his helmet off in front of a living creature, which, like I said earlier, that always puzzled me from episode 1, since we saw Jango's face in Attack of the Clones, Sabine Wren's in Rebels, Bo-Katan's in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and including Mandalorian Season 2. I was okay with the explanation given that Mando was raised by a group of religious zealots that want to take the creed back to what it was when you weren't allowed to show your face to a living creature. And that even ties into more like real world religion, because for every religion out there, no matter how legitimate it is, you're always going to have some sort of cult that wants to go back to an earlier version of it. And with regards to the Darksaber, I was actually hoping to see Sabine Wren in this season, since that was her weapon in Star Wars Rebels. And I thought that that's what the Darksaber was building up to at the end of Season 1, was that, okay, we're going to see Sabine Wren come in. Maybe Moff Gideon got it off of her, who knows? And I know that Sasha Banks, the pro wrestler Sasha Banks, portrayed her mother for one scene in Chapter 11, and that really was it. That's all of, Sabine Wren that we saw. I do think that was a letdown, since Mando was searching for other Mandalorians. We got Boba Fett, we got Bo-Katan with her crew in the same season. Why not Sabine? The perfect spot to debut her, actually, was Chapter 13, since we last saw Sabine and Ahsoka go off together at the end of Rebels, and even if she couldn't debut in that particular episode, if Mando had just dropped that he's looking for other Mandalorians, why couldn't Ahsoka give him the information on where Sabine's last location was? But, this is that's a real woulda, coulda, shoulda. And yeah, for me, it's disappointing. But you know what? Does it ruin the season? Not really. And the second question that I posed was, is there hope for the future of the show? And what I have to say on this is this: with the mythos of the Darksaber being expanded in this season, the one who wields it can gain control over Mandalore. I don't want to predict where this season is going to go, largely because I did get my predictions for this season wrong, because I did predict that Sabine was going to come in, and it never happened. But I'm going to go ahead and predict right here. But what I was going to say is, I can see Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni building up to a battle for Mandalore, where Mando will take the throne in the end because of that Darksaber. And it won't be done in just one season. But it's not going to be done in just one season. It will be built with smaller events leading to the big event over a few seasons, like Star Trek Deep Space Nine did with the Dominion War. Season 1 was all about the world building for DS9. Season 2 built up to the Jem'Hadar. And Season 3 onward was building to the Dominion War, with smaller events thrown in here and there. Now, I do feel that the show can now blossom because the Baby Yoda storyline is complete. The showrunners do not have to go back to that well. Instead, leave Baby Yoda alone, and if they expand on him in a future show like Rangers of the New Republic or the Ahsoka series, then great. Let The Mandalorian be its own show. Don't turn The Mandalorian into the Baby Yoda show. Those were the worst aspects of this season, when it stopped being The Mandalorian and it started being the Baby Yoda show. And you know what? Even if my prediction doesn't come true of a battle to retake Mandalore from the Empire, as long as the show blossoms, as long as it hints to something bigger and something grand, then I will call Season 3 a success for the series as a whole. And you do have my word on that. Whatever it's worth. Now, I'm going to end this episode off with some final thoughts on this season, and I still feel that this season really dropped the ball. The showrunners were too focused on setting up the Boba Fett series that was confirmed during the post-credits scene of the season finale, along with the Ahsoka series. They teased Boba Fett right at the end of Chapter 9, and then brought him in as a main character in Chapters 14, 15, and 16. Chapter 13 was basically a backdoor pilot for the Ahsoka series that was announced at the Disney Investor Day 2020 celebration by setting up the fact that Ahsoka is going to look for Thrawn. That's basically 4 episodes out of an 8-episode season that was used to set up 2 completely different shows. And on top of that, This season didn't even start to get really good until chapter 12, until legitimately halfway through the season. That's episode 4. Chapter 9, I will always say this is a good standalone episode, and I'll give it that. As a standalone episode, it's really, really good. And I think we would all like to forget that Chapter 10 even existed, with the fact that it was pure filler and it was a bunch of bullshit. Chapter 11 was okay, but as I stated earlier, by comparison to Chapter 10, anything was going to be better than that. And then we finally get to Chapter 12, where that genuinely felt like an extension to Season 1. We are genuinely continuing the storyline that was established in Season 1. And I did bring this up earlier, that the season corrected both Chapters 5 and 6. And I will give credit where credit is due. They also ended the Baby Yoda story very nicely, and Baby Yoda coming back into this series, in my opinion, would be a detriment to the story arc. Yes, the bond between Mando and Baby Yoda is strong, but from a storytelling perspective, bringing Baby Yoda back would be a regression, because at that point, you're just going to make The Mandalorian the Baby Yoda show. And had this season been more focused on wrapping up the story from Season 1, instead of trying to set up 2 other shows at the same time, this season could have been a lot better. And I don't want to see Star Wars go down the same route that Marvel took, in the sense that you have to watch everything that they put out, no matter if you're a fan of the character or not, in order just to understand one episode in a TV show that should be a standalone show. Don't pull a Kevin Feige. Don't become the MCU here, because that's how everything is going to fall apart. And with that, guys, I am gonna end the episode right here. Thanks for sticking around if you got to this point. If you guys want to follow me and you don't know where, I do have a blog that is MetrObeliskRadio.blogspot.com. I do treat that more like social media than anything. If you have to follow me on a social media platform, I am on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @MetrObelisk. That is with a capital M, lowercase e, T-R, capital O, lowercase b, E-L-I-S-K. Now, if you cannot fucking stand Twitter, which I do not blame you for 1 second, I am also over on Parler with the exact same handle as I have on Twitter, @MetrObelisk. And I do a gaming live stream every Friday night around 10 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time over on the YouTube channel. And one last thing, guys, if you enjoy the content that I produce, then please subscribe to both the YouTube and BitChute channels. It's a small click for you, but for a small channel like mine, it really does help out a lot. Also, like, comment, and share this around only if you want to. You are never obligated to do any of that. The links to the blog, YouTube channel, and social medias are all in the description below. That is going to do it for our look at Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And I will see you guys next time.